present in the gallery today by attending or participating in the public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause or terminate the stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour or commentary. We have nil apologies. We have one leave of absence for Councillor Ron Page, has submitted a leave of absence application and provided the reason out of town for holidays. Do we have a mover for that? Moved Councillor Gallagher, seconded Councillor Turley. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Thank you. Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the land of Winnicalli people, and pay our respect to those elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Allgate.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. We take time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners that lost their lives and those that were crippled or maimed on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-1920 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and our future.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. The first public forum session of 15 minutes will consider submissions from the public regarding matters listed for consideration at this meeting and also on general matters. The public have been advised through notices in our former Barrier Truth and Council's website registered by 4 p.m. today if they wish to address Council during the public forum session. Members of the public who have registered to address Council will be given preference, and then, if time permits, anyone else present in the public gallery may address Council. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes. We have Neil registered. Is there anyone from the gallery that would like to speak? No? All good. Just so the gallery do know, so there was some questions answered from last meeting. They're in the business paper under questions from the public. Minutes for confirmation. The minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Council of the City of Broken Hill held 24th of April 24 be confirmed. Do we have a mover for those? Yeah. Moved Deputy Mayor Hickey, seconded Councillor Allgate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Disclosure of his interest. Is there any disclosures of interest? Nil disclosures of interest. We have a mayoral minute, item number 1, introduction of a regional air zone cap subsidy for return flights between Sydney and the region and remote locations of New South Wales. That Council advocates for the New South Wales State Government to initiate discussions between Regional Express Airlines and Qantas Airways to establish a regional zone cap fare scheme between Sydney and regional remote cities in New South Wales, similar to the regional zone cap fare scheme that is currently operating in Western Australia. Move this. Do we have a seconder for that?
Second that.
Seconded, Councillor Turley. This is a scheme that first was brought to our attention by the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hickey, who in Western Australia, they use this scheme and it's a very good scheme. The prices are capped of about $300 return for residents of the city. You have to have a return ticket as it is for residents. So it's to encourage people that are from away to be able to move to the city, be able to go home to their loved ones during holidays, etc., at a reasonable price. It's a very good scheme that has worked really well. I will hand over to the Deputy Mayor who has been pushing for this quite strongly.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Yeah, places like Karratha and Kalgoorlie and that have all got it in, and it's over 1,000 kilometres. If the town is over 1,000 kilometres away, and you're a resident, you have to be a resident, and you can get a ticket via the airlines for $299 each way, but it's capped at that, so it's no more. Whereas here, if we had that here, we could fly to Sydney at a reasonable rate, like for $600 return, our residents could get to Sydney. We would encourage a lot more teachers, a lot more nurses and that, because we all know that of different people who have left the town because they can't get back to the eastern seaboard at a reasonable cost. And $600 is considered reasonable, but $1,000 isn't. Or, recently at Easter, it was $800 each way. So, which is just ridiculous to try and get home. So people couldn't get home. It works extremely well in Western Australia, and we need to push our state government to come on board and help and do an agreement with the airlines. And, whether it's a co-contribution between the two, I don't know, but they can work that out. But we really need to push this hard because it helps our workforce. It gets all those people that we need out here to come out happily and be able to get home, every month if they want to. So, yeah.
Other speakers?
Happy.
Councillor Turley?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I second this motion. I think it's a great concept, and I know that we've had the Australian Mining Cities Alliance be briefed on it before. I'm just curious. I'm just thinking about this. We did have an agreement with Regional Express to have a community fair. Have they now stopped that community fair? So the community fairs still exist?
Yeah. So what this is about is the community fairs. There's a limited number. This is for anyone at any time. So it virtually is in addition to a community fair. It would have to be funded by the state government or potentially the federal government as well. We have been speaking with some of the ministers, both state and federal. They like the idea and ask for further costings on it. So there is potential for it to happen. And what we need to note as a council and for people that may be listening is that we are 1,100 kilometres from Sydney via road. We're probably the only place in New South Wales, other than a few of the more regional remote areas, that are so far. So it's not as if we can drive for the weekend to these places. So it's really about making sure that it is accessible. What was brought up a number of times during the health inquiry that was conducted last week was the need for some incentive to be added. It was made quite clear by a number of speakers that one of the things that make it very difficult to retain workers or to get workers here in the first place is the access. And so this is just one of the steps that we can take to make sure that there is accessibility to the community. If we do get this, it's not just for people that are moving here, it'll be for everyone. And what it does is it'll open up Broken Hill to a lot of people, existing residents as well as future residents. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is State Government Agency AUS established retail franchise at the Westside Plaza. That number 1, that the mayoral minute dated May be received, that correspondence be sent to the New South Wales Minister for Transport and other ministers and local members. That Service New South Wales Centre has caused the demise of a retail franchise store in Broken Hill without any communal consultation, that the agency move to the shopping complex is warranted in the best interests of the city, that council contacts the management group for Westside Plaza and Broken Hill Village along with vacant shop owners in Sabine to provide assistance where possible in attracting new retail to the city. We have a seconder for that, Councillor
Second.
Allgate. I move this because it has been brought to many people's attention, I'm sure. I'm sure most councillors would be aware of it. What other information's involved will be yet seen. But what is for sure, if Service New South Wales are moving, whether they're moving to Westside Plaza or any other location, this needs to be conducted in public consultation. We certainly don't want to see our retail shops, whether that be at Westside Plaza, the Coles complex or in Argent Street, be ousted because of government buildings. We need to keep our retail sector vibrant. That is what makes a community livable. We certainly don't want people, when they go to any of our major shopping centre, be greeted by government organisations or any other organisation that is non-retail. Do we have any other speakers for that? Councillor Turley.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just wonder in item 3, if it should be that you meet with the management group. I don't think we need to make it stronger. And I'm curious about why Best and Less, if the size of the space was too big for them, why they can't go to another space. And, you know, I absolutely support this motion. I think that, you know, if we don't have retail business in these shopping centres, then there is little opportunity, 1, for employment, 2 is around the economy, and 3 is that visitor spend as well. So, and just a big shout out to all the staff at Best and Less, and, you know, let them know that we're thinking of them. But I think if you're okay with changing that council meets with the management group.
I actually have spoken to the owner of Westside Plaza, who is a property administrator in Queensland, has a portfolio over about $300 million. The owner has made it quite clear they'd prefer retail people. So what we need to do is to make sure that government departments know that they shouldn't be outbidding people to make it very difficult to retain retail places. So for me, it's not so much what the owners of that building do, because they're quite entitled to do whatever they feel to make money. But what we need to do is make sure that the New South Wales government understands that they should not be going out, changing locations without first consulting with the community, and secondly, should definitely not be looking to be relocated to retail precincts. Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I totally support this motion. I think it's fantastic that the Broken Hill City Council's got on the front foot and looking after our retail and wholesale businesses. But the New South Wales government, or what do I want to call it this day, well, the RTA, DMR, whatever they want to call it, there's a perfectly good state office block which is just across the road. You know, that would be safer, it'd be better. There's data cabling. You're going to talk data cabling. The New South Wales police are in there, for God's sake, for a number of years. There's data cabling all there. And I believe that's a better location and cheaper rent for them, because the state office block is a state office block.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Yeah, Mayor Kennedy, just on top of that is there's now a very good anchor tenant out in that plaza, being Harvey Norman, and that would attract some very good retail shops, because you've got an anchor tenant bringing in customers. New South Wales state, whatever it's called, Service of New South Wales, have a captive audience anyway. We don't have any choice about using them, so they don't need to capture the people that we've already caught. But out there would be an excellent shop now with an anchor tenant like Harvey Norman.
Look, I have no doubt that the local Service New South Wales would probably not even know about this. This is usually done through Properties New South Wales. They're probably determined that the office space is not of a size that is fitting at the moment for the operations at Service New South Wales. So they've probably put it out feelers to see where they can actually get bigger office space. The tenant lease at the plaza did come up, so it was probably, they were probably contacted that way and have made this recommendation without actually consulting with the local community. So for us, it's really making sure that as a council, we ensure that the community's voice is heard. If they do want to move, then they need to tell the community. For a lot of people, it would be an inconvenience. It wouldn't be more accessible at the plaza. At the moment, you can pull up out the front, you can see how many people are there, you can go in and you can be served in a matter of minutes. If it does move into the complex, it's going to be not more convenient, but less convenience for the public as well. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown, you'd like to move your notice of motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, but with your indulgence, I'd like to move a slight change to the wording of that, since I submitted this notice of motion. I've been asked to nominate as president of Region 4. So I'd like to change the wording to reflect that. I acknowledge that does imply that there's a certain cost to council, but because council's responsibility would be to the administering council sort of follows the president, so it will mean a bit of extra work for council here. But I have spoken to the general manager, and he's comfortable with that. So with that change, I'll move the motion.
Yes, we have a seconder for that. Seconded, councillor Jewett. Councillor Brown, you like to speak to that?
Well, I think it's important that we continue to have an involvement with Region 4. We've sort of made that effort over the many years now to do that, even though we're not one of the river councils. I mean, our survival depends on access to river water one way or the other, whether it's the Darling is in the past or the Murray, and the health of this region is absolutely totally dependent on the health of the Darling River, particularly in the Murray-Darling Basin generally. So I think it is critical that we maintain the level of involvement that we have.
Yep. Any other speakers? Look, Broken Hill is part of the Murray-Darling Basin. Our waters do flow directly into the Darling River. We always have had a voice on water matters. Broken Hill Council over the time has been very vocal at different times and has actually changed policy of that group well before a lot of the current councils that are now on it. We were part of councils where there were mainly only South Australian councils with a few New South Wales Victorian councils along the Murray River. So I could not support your motion more, Councillor Brown. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We have nil rescission motions. We move on to item number 13, reports from delegates. We have a number of reports. Item number 1 is Deputy Mayor attendance at the Australian Mining Cities Alliance meeting held 2nd to 3rd of May 2023. Deputy Mayor Hickey, you'd like to move that?
Yes, Mayor Kennedy. Yep.
Seconded.
Seconded.
Councillor Allgate. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
I'll just briefly, I've written it out there, but I'll just briefly speak on it that one of the major, there's been a change of guard there because there's several elections in Western Australia and Queensland. So we've got now 4 new mayors on that board. The Mayor of Kalgoorlie is now the chair and I am vice chair. It is the agreement of the committee that we pushed heavily with the federal government now at Elga to try and get meetings with them about their fringe benefit tax-free salary sacrificing packages for remote mining cities, which will help you buy a house or rent a house, pre-tax, which will encourage people to leave the cities to come out here and come to our mining regions, and also to rent. It helps out the renters because if they can do it tax-free, and where the mines drive up the rent in these cities, quite often there's not places for the barista and that they just can't afford the rent. So at least if they can get it tax-free, that is a part towards that. So that's one of the major things. There's been another move from Councillor Mayor Don Scott to go to the Commonwealth Government to us. So we'll work out what our gross national product is for our cities and that for mining regions. Go to the federal government, and instead of just royalties that they've been taken off us now that we're not getting much at all, we go to them for say something like 1 cent for every dollar. And Broken Hill, we would come out, we'd get 8.96 million, and which would replace our resource for regions and all those things that they've taken away from us. So we're going to try that. We're going to put that together, and then we'll try and go to the Treasurer, get a meeting with the Treasurer to do that one. So they're the major points of what we've done. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Allgate.
I'd just like to congratulate the Deputy Mayor on his appointment as Vice Chair. This particular
You like to add that to the
Pardon?
You like to add that to the recommendation
Yes,
for
I
the
would.
resolution?
This
The applicant
particular
recommend-
committee is, or organisation is extremely important. And some of the particular things that the Deputy Mayor has raised are of equal importance, particularly in regional areas. But I think the important thing is in the term of this council, Deputy Mayor Hickey's attendance at each of these conferences, and obviously his voice is being heard, and that's why he's been appointed as Vice Chair. And I think I'm happy to congratulate him.
Yes, look, I also would like to congratulate him, and also, so everyone does understand, Deputy Mayor Hickey, who's been going for close to 2 years, is now the most senior person or the most experienced person on the committee. What's happened is that a lot of the people that had been there for a considerable amount of time actually were not re-elected to their positions. Not re-elected as councillors in some cases. It also is really important, the tax package, because it actually smooths out the boom and bust. So it's all right during the boom, mining towns have the benefit of having a lot of money and a lot of income. But as Councillor Hickey said, some of the problems there is it drives prices up and there's localised inflation. Then there's a bust where people leave the town rather rapidly because they're terrified of losing everything they own. So we go through this period that really does need to be addressed. And the tax package that was announced is a very good idea that has been taken notice of in the past by some of the current government. So they've been really open to it. Also, it needs to probably be advertised a little bit more about the GDP that mining towns do put into the economy. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the wider community, especially when it comes to some of the city-centric electorates. Some of the misinformation they get is that mining is heavily subsidised by the Australian government. What everyone in Australia should understand is mining towns severely subsidise the rest of the country. We pay for a lot of what happens. Without our mining towns, Australia would not be the country it is. And it needs to be a real campaign out there so people in the cities understand that mining is still the backbone of this country. And I congratulate your committee on the fact that you're getting those figures together about GDP, and it needs to be advertised everywhere, because we do not need people going on social media saying things that mining is the most subsidised industry in the country. We are not. We subsidise everywhere else. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is Deputy Mayor's attendance at the Rural and Regional Summit held 9th of May 2024. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Again, this is a really good forum. It's the Rural and Regional Summit, which the LGA has brought in the last 2 years. It's all like-minded people that are there. It's
We're happy to move.
Oh, so I will move there. Sorry.
Yeah, move your recommendations in the report. Seconded, Councillor Gallagher.
Thanks,
Deputy Mayor
Councillor
Hickey.
And some of these stupid recommendations and motions that come out at the LGA conference last time, I think disgusted most of the bush and rural and regional mayors and councillors. And you go to this one and it's much more like-minded people. I think the ministers get the message pretty loud and clear from the group that is there, because they all are fairly vocal about that we're just not getting anything in the country, this side of the mountains or anything. We're getting bugger all. And I think that was made pretty clear to Minister Moriarty and the others that were there at the time. And the Premier, Chris Minns, turned up for a little while and had a talk, but we didn't have any questions. We couldn't ask questions.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah. You don't wish to speak, Councillor Gallagher, as the chairman of the Western Division, another thing that has strong regional ties?
Yeah, just thanks very much for the opportunity. Like, just good to see that this meeting, they're actually listening to people from the bush. They're actually listening to where it all happens, instead of over the other side of the mountains. It's good to see we've got a strong voice with Deputy Mayor Hickey there as well. So thanks very much for your attendance and thanks for the report.
Yeah. Any other speakers? Councillor Curley?
Yeah, sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think as the person who initiated the Rural Regional Summit, I really appreciate the support from all the mayors and councillors. But just a reminder that Jenny Aitchison had also said any road issues, ring her anytime, that she is available. So all those ministers, Jenny wasn't at the summit itself, but did pop in, and also did Emily Saval, who's chairing the Sustainability Inquiry into Local Government, and made herself available for all the councillors to catch up with. So it was a really good summit. I kind of want to just say that I'm a bit sort of don't understand sort of the undermining part about certified counterparts, because most of our motions at our National Congress comes from our rural councillors. Is it certified? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, certified.
Well, a lot of.
Yeah, Councillor Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Sorry, a lot of those motions that come from the North Coast and our Eastern Seaboard, some of those ones about, not having poisons for dog baiting, trying to retame feral cats, rehouse feral cats, like not having mouse poisons and things, getting rid of them. They're just garbage motions for most bush people, because we all know that these things are pests and have to be dealt with accordingly, because it's just, if you live through a mouse plague, which I guarantee none of those people have, because they wouldn't move those motions, when mice are in the beds and biting babies and biting children, because I've seen it dozens of times, and it's not on. Thank you.
Look, I'm probably one of the most animal nice people you can have, but I still acknowledge I catch mice live and let them go out bush. And I don't know, I hope they survive. I don't like seeing animals die. I take spiders outside. But what I do understand is the importance of these things to the bush. And when you have a mouse plague eating crops beyond belief, destroying wiring, feral cats, for example. Now, if also someone that goes regularly out bush, I also understand how feral cats are. You do not have any chance of taming a feral cat. If I was to put a feral cat here in here at the moment and stirred it up, people would be hiding up in the corner because they will attack you. I think what city folk don't understand the difference between feral cats and stray cats. We can actually rehome stray cats. People find stray cats all the time and take them to their nearest shelter. I'm sure the general manager and other council staff get calls all the time about rehousing cats. So these are some of the things that the deputy mayor wants to explain. You can be an animal lover, but you still have to understand when it comes to the city, they don't actually understand. People out in the bush don't like killing animals. They don't like destroying feral cats, but also everyone in the bush understands if you had one feral cat, for example, if the Imperial Lake does become some sort of refuge for animals, one feral cat can destroy all the wildlife around the Imperial Lake. What has happened out there, and they think it's probably foxes, another feral animal. They've killed some of the black swans out there. So they're the sorts of things that you probably don't get to know or see that when you're from the inner suburbs of Sydney. You're not going to encounter a feral cat or a fox. That you could encounter a fox. They do go there, but probably not likely in the middle of the streets. So I do understand where you're coming from. And if you could also understand that, Councillor Turley, and I'm sure you do to a certain degree, the importance of the difference between some of the things we do face in the bush that some of the city councils don't face. And that's why we are advocates, and that's why you did push for the Rural Summit, is because there are things that are vastly different that we face out here than some of our city counterparts. Any other speakers?
Mayor Kennedy?
Yep.
I myself attended the summit with the deputy mayor and the general manager, and it was as the deputy mayor points to the discussion around the government funding. Obviously, we've been advocates for the resources for regions and keeping that in place. All seem to be smoke and mirrors, and the guidelines, as the deputy mayor states, the guidelines will be put out shortly, but not yet. And as he said, it's $750,000 per council. So really nothing come out of that discussion. And I learnt a lot of new economic terminology as well, which I won't say in a public forum, but it is written in the report.
No. Any other speakers? Councillor Brown?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was concerned at the general tone of this report. To be honest, it read to me more like just an attack on the present government, and I would contest the claim that this government hasn't provided any funding to this council, because that is obviously not true. I mean, if you look at the road grants that we've had, that we continue to have for just improving the city's roads for a start. So it read to me more like a political statement, if you like, than just a straightforward report about a meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Would you like to respond, Deputy Mayor Hickey?
I would. Councillor Brown, I'm of no political persuasion, so it's certainly not a political speech. It is what I find and what we're finding with the current government, and we're just not getting a fair go. And that's not just me, that's every council throughout New South Wales have said it. And at the next meeting I went to was the mayor's, country mayor's meeting, and it was quite vocal there again that nobody's getting a cent. And blokes all stand around and women talking, and nobody could say, well, they were all saying, well, we've got nothing, except for some essential road funding from natural disasters and some natural disaster funding that has come out because they're a necessity that had to come out, and we're done. But other than that, there's been nothing. They've made a statement of the 600 million that they're going to release at some stage, 350 and then 250, but the guidelines that we don't know as yet, and we haven't got that yet. And that's, 15, 18 months, 17 months since I've been in government. Thank you.
Yes, look, I still live in hope that the current government does get their act together. We have been told that resources regions will be re-implemented in some form. Yet to see that, and I'm not confident about that. That will cost our council. So if we just get the average of $750,000, that means it'll be costing our community roughly $3.5 million per year. Now, I think the deputy mayor has every right to bring those concerns and raise those concerns. That's not a political statement. I don't believe it's a political statement at all. I'm very concerned about resources to regions, and bring it up with all visiting politicians to this city, whether that be Labor or Coalition. We need that resources to regions, and it's really important. And so I can understand maybe the frustration in that report, but it is, in my opinion, very factual and non-political. All those in favour? Carried. Oh, no, sorry. All those in favour? Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Boland, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey, myself. Against, Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. I declare the motion carried. Item number 3 is the Deputy Mayor's attendance at the Country Mayor's meeting held 10th of May 2024. Councillor Hickey, move the recommendation.
Move that recommendation.
Move the recommendation. Seconded, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Again, this is proving to be very popular, the country mayors meetings. There was 140 there, not all mayors, but of delegates there at this meeting, which just goes to prove there's I think 91 councils, which 88 are members, which proves how the worth of it, and again, like-minded people talking about like-minded things, and it was a good follow on from the summit, because it gave further talks about all the stuff that came up at the summit, that there's further discussion on that the following day. And again, a very good meeting, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers on that? No? Councillor Gully?
Yeah, it's just good to see, again, the like-minded people that went from one meeting to the next. And it's good to see it is country mayors, and it's good to see that the country has a voice in that area. And it's well presented, and I commend the report.
Yes, I think it's a valuable way to get our voice out with other communities that face similar sort of things. We all need to keep in mind that the other country mayors are a lot closer to Sydney as well. So it's really important that Broken Hill actually speaks on behalf of the more remote areas. And that includes areas such as Menindee, Wilcannia and Tibooburra. We know some of the things that those communities struggle with as well. So great to see the Deputy Mayor there and flying the flag for not just Broken Hill, but our Far West region. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 14 is committee reports. The first one is the Works Committee. Item number 1 is the minutes of the Picton Sports Ground Community Committee meeting held 15th of April 2024. We have a mover for that. Councillor Brown. Moved Councillor Brown, seconded Councillor Boland. Any speakers on that? No. All those in favour? Declared it carried. We move on to Health and Building Committee. Item number 1 is motion of which notice has been given dated planning portal workshop. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Move that way.
Moved that way, seconded.
Seconded.
Councillor Allgate. Councillor Hickey, you'd like to speak to that?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Kennedy. As written in here, that there's been numerous builders and that have approached me again about the time to get it through the portal and to get their DAs approved and that. But after a long discussion with the general manager, they're not putting them in until they are ready to start building, and this is the problem. So if they and the minister for planning was there, or I think she's the secretary. Right. Well, she spoke and they're preparing a portal, on YouTube to a demonstration and teaching thing, so that for council staff, but also for the builders and for the public to be able to learn how to use this portal, because if it's used properly, it's a good portal, but it's just so hard to understand. And I've put 2 applications in through it myself, so I know the difficulties. And with the valuer's background, I should have some idea, but geez, some of it is just nearly impossible to understand, and people struggle with it. So the plan is this: that if we can get our builders, if we can get a night where we do some training of them, teach them via that YouTube how to use it, and if they can get, then once they quote on a job, tell their clients to get their applications into the portal. It might take 3 months to go through, but there's about a 12-month lag between builders quoting and doing the job at the moment in Broken Hill, because I've got several jobs myself that I'm waiting on. But if we can do that, then they're ready to start. And so 3 months before they're ready to start, they can line up their tradies that they need to go with them, electricians and things, and have it all ready. So the day that they're ready, everything is in process and all been approved and ready to go. And I think it would work much better than their current system, and just take away some of the angst that's in the community about it. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Turley?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think councils, planners and general managers and mayors across New South Wales will jump with joy if they ever get this fixed. And it's such a challenge. It's been many years now. Kirsten's come along as the Secretary of Planning and has said she wants to resolve this. And I support this motion. I think it's a great idea by the Deputy Mayor. And for all that, it's not just builders that are struggling with it, it's the everyday person putting in a DA. So the more we can do to support our community, the better, and inform them, the more opportunities we'll have to make it easier for them and our staff.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. Any other speakers? Councillor Allgate?
Just to confirm what the Deputy Mayor has said, in particular, the building regulations are very, very complex, and lengthy. And I think some of the health staff struggle themselves to be abreast of it, because it's changing all the time. And I think we all know people who have been disadvantaged because of the delays in building certificates and the likes, construction certificates, DAs and whatever. We all know people that have been affected, and perhaps it's not always the builder's faults. And anything that can be imparted by the council to the building industry, I think is a step forward and a positive move. If we can break down those barriers that builders often complain about, because they don't know everything about the regulations. It's anything that breaks down those hurdles is going to be a good thing, because too many people have been affected for too long.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Yeah, look, I commend the Deputy Mayor for his notice of motion. Development for the city, I'm sure all councillors here know the importance of development. We want the city to grow, and anything we can do to make it easier for the people that want to improve the city or build additional infrastructure in the city need to be helped as much as we can. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is adoption of the draft scores on doors policy. Moved councillor Jewett, seconded Deputy Mayor Hickey. Councillor Jewett.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see this being adopted. It's wonderful for businesses to attract, more customers, showing, good quality food and good ratings. If they don't have the ratings, then they'll improve rather than sweep it under the rug. So it's all good.
I do agree. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Yeah, look, it creates a bit of competition amongst our food sources and our cafes and things, because you've got good scores on your door. You don't want to be behind somebody else. People start to look for them. I know, because my daughter and that was in the industry, and quite proud to have their stars on the door. And I just think it's a great thing for our city. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Congratulations to all the staff involved. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3 is the minutes of the Friends and Flora Fauna of the Barrier Ranges Community meeting held 12th of March 2024. Councillor Brown, happy to move that. Seconded Councillor Turley. Councillor Brown, would you like to speak to that?
No, Mr. Mayor, I was away when that meeting was held, but I think Councillor.
You were
Turley
there,
was
Councillor Turley. Councillor
Yeah,
Turley.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of issues. One is there is a working bee on Saturday. I'm sure that the committee would love to see everybody. The second one, there was quite a bit of discussion about in the consultation of the master plan for the living desert area and the region area that the committee would be consulted. I did reach out to the general manager and he assured me they would. So that was a great discussion. They're probably the top 2 issues.
No worries. I did, the Friends of the Flora and Fauna did receive a Volunteers Award, so well done to them. They often do pretty well at the Volunteers Awards. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Minutes of the Friends and Flora and Fauna of the Barrier Ranges Community Committee meeting held 9th of April 2024. Mover, Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Brown. Anything on that one? No. Councillor Brown? Yep.
No, Mr. Mayor, I was at that
Oh.
meeting, but no.
No comment? No.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move on to Policy and General Committee. Item number 1 is correspondence Broken Hill Trades Hall Heritage Listing nomination. We have a mover for that. Move Councillor Boland, seconded
Seconded.
Councillor Allgate. Councillor Boland, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. This will be a great thing for Broken Hill if it comes about. And the commencement of the nomination is a good thing. I believe that there's a push for workers' halls around Australia and the world to finally be identified, and I think we've got the greatest in the world sitting just across the road from this chamber, and one that Broken Hill is certainly proud of and the workers are proud of, and it'd be a great achievement to get that on the World Heritage Register, because let's be honest, that's where that magnificent Workers' Hall belongs.
Any other speaker? It was interesting when there was a presentation given. A lot of the trades halls around the world are no longer trades halls. Ours was always a unique trades hall, as is a lot of trades halls have hotels, restaurants, etc. within their precinct. The way our trades hall worked was the meeting was at the trades hall, and then we had our registered clubs, which were where the workers went, the Barrier Industrial, the Barrier Democratic Club, the Musicians Clubs, the Workmen's Club, all branches more or less of our union movement. So I do hope that our listing does become the world listing for the Trades Hall. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2, annual fees for the mayors and councillors. We have a mover for that.
I'll move recommendation 1, 2, 3 and 5, and add item 6 that the fees remain the same.
Second that.
Any speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, the quarterly budget review statement for the period ended 31st March 2024.
Move that
Councillor
way.
Boland, seconded.
Second.
Councillor Allgate, Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. This is a good report and a sensational result, especially in the current environment. The economy is struggling along, and to note an operating surplus before capital of 593,000 is an amazing effort, and the staff should be congratulated on that. And then the net capital budget expenditure of $32.3 million. It's important to keep the city ticking along and make it an even better place to live, and certain things such as the road grants are in there. We've got some airport works, etc. So there's lots of projects coming along. The library's kicked off. We've seen the netball courts and the Norm Fox and Duke of Cornwall. So there's lots happening. But also to see that surplus is a great result, and everyone, all the council staff should be congratulated on an excellent effort.
Any other speakers? Look, having a $593,000 surplus, congratulations to staff, but also congratulations to all councillors for the governments that allows this to happen. If the council didn't have the governance that they did have, the staff can't implement the policies we need to ensure that we end up with that surplus. So congratulations to all. It's an outstanding council we have. It's an outstanding governing body of the council. And what that allows is some of our staff to implement what they are able to implement. And this is with the good government, you end up with a $593,000 surplus. So thank you to all involved. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 4, investment report for April.
Move that.
Councillor Boland, seconded.
Seconded.
Councillor Allgate, Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kenny. Another excellent report, and another one where the staff really need to be congratulated in, again, tough economic conditions. It was great to see we had $3.5 million mature. That was cash mature at 5.01%, went straight back in at 5.07%. That is above inflation, and that's been reinvested 6 to 10 months. Interest rate's an interesting one. They are now forecasting it's at least 16 months off, so we're seeing that interest rate come up. So cash is a good investment vehicle. And it's interesting with the inflation figures out today that were 3.6%, up from 3.5 in March, and a market expectation of 3.4. So that certainly points towards interest rates not going anywhere other than maybe up. Probably not what people want to hear. And then the cash investments are strong. The T Corp investments in the shares and that are flat, but overall it's a good result in the current conditions.
Any other speakers? Yeah, just again, another good effort. I remember when council did move a motion to change our direction. So again, great effort by staff, great effort by the council, acknowledged that cash was going to be the thing that was really important as interest rates rise. Our interest rates having meant that our portfolios have done exceptionally well. So again, thank you to the staff and thank you to all councillors for having the foresight to realise that we needed to implement a strategy that ensured that cash was king. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 5, minutes of the Broken Hill Heritage Committee meeting held. Councillor Hickey.
Move that way.
Seconded. Councillor Turley. Councillor Hickey.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy, I will read the whole of the minutes out of the motion out, the recommendation, I should say. The Broken Hill City Council report number 72/24 dated May 15, 2024 be received, that the minutes of the Broken Hill Heritage Committee meeting held the 28th of March 24 and 23rd April 24 be received. The Broken Hill Heritage Committee March and April meeting minutes recommend that that council notes the updates from General Manager on specific matters raised by the committee as an action item. B, that council sends correspondence to the committee members of the Broken Hill Heritage Committee to remind them of their attendance responsibilities should they wish to remain on the committee, or alternatively, that the said members resign from the committee as their absence contributes to a lack of a quorum. C, that council sends correspondence to the Broken Hill Heritage Committee to advise the museum advisor is on a set contract with council, and this contract does not include attendance at Broken Hill Heritage Committee meetings, nor does council's budget allow for an increase to the museum advisor's contract, and that the correspondence also advised that for any additional requests of council or staff resourcing be raised as a request to the elected body, not as an instruction to staff. D, that council invites the general manager to contact the directors of the Barrier Daily Truth, or Barrier Truth, I should say, to ascertain what their intentions are for the future of the Barrier Truth's archives, and if there is any assistance required from council, given it is a historic value to the city. And E, that Broken Hill Heritage Committee be advised that their minutes in the current format are not acceptable, in that the committee is a Section 355 advisory committee of council that advises and makes recommendations to council. The advisory committee cannot direct staff to undertake tasks.
Thank you. Seconder for that? We had a seconder? Yep, Councillor Turley. Any comments on that?
Not really, Mayor Kennedy. I think I've spelled it all out in that it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Any other speakers? No other speakers. Look, I think it's really important, the Barrier Truth, when we do contact them about the archives. I would have no doubt that the unions involved with that would be really keen to make sure the archives were kept. I would have no doubt that they will not be relinquishing those to any government body or any other body. So we will ask them just to make sure that if they do need assistance, then council is there for that assistance. So that's all I have. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 6 is the minutes of the 355 Age Well Advisory Committee meeting held May 1, 2024. We have a mover for that.
I'll move that way.
Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Boland. Councillor Gallagher?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kennedy. It was a very, very interesting meeting, that one. We spoke to the hospital CEO there, and also Berta Neckerville from the Southern Cross in relation to the bedding situation, the staffing situation. It was very, very good, very informative. Both CEOs spoke at length and to the meetings. So it's very informative, and they explained the reasons why. Each facility were having 26, the hospital's having 26 aged care patients up there. Although they did say it wasn't affecting the day surgery, but it was affecting the scheduled surgery of some people instead of waiting the maximum time of 365 days. But then Mr. Neckerville from the Southern Cross Care explained the reasons why. the staffing and the amounts of people they could have at each location. So it was a very, very good meeting, and I recommend the recommendations.
Thank you, councillor Gallagher. Any other speakers? Look, if councillor Gallagher would add to that recommendation that we do write off to the federal government again, outlining our concerns with the current system with particularly registered nurses and the impacts that has on regional centres such as ours. I know we keep on saying that, but we need to get that loud and clear. If you're happy to accept that.
Look, I'm happy that Mayor Kennedy put that there, that relation to, but also, as we did mention in the meeting, childcare is one of the major assets, the reason why we can't have our nursing staff back on the field as well.
Yeah. So just some of the things that are mentioned in there, 500,000 spent on travel and accommodation for nursing staff this year alone for the aged care facilities. So
That's
they're
correct.
bringing in agency nurses, paying agency nurses well above what the normal nurses are. Some of the issues with those agency nurses, they're only here for 2 or 3 weeks, so they don't actually meet all the criteria that's required as opposed to knowing the resident themselves. So part of that, to get that or meet the regulations, is not only do you need a registered nurse, you need a registered nurse that actually is well informed with the resident themselves to meet that criteria. So we're in a position where that's only going to get worse, and we'll potentially have some of those beds that are currently being used that won't. There's 218 beds in Broken Hill. There's about 40 that aren't being used. We have 26 patients at the hospital that should be residents of the nursing home. We also have about another 30 that are actually at home in their houses. If those 30 become ill, they then become acute care, which means they'll be at the hospital. Once they go to the hospital, very likely that they'll be able to go back to their houses. So we only have actually 40 emergency beds at the hospital, or day beds at the hospital. We have 26 at the moment that are used by residents. If another 14 are used, that means there'll be 0 beds at the hospital for daycare. So if you go up there with a cold where you're feeling a little bit sick or whatever, you will not be able to use a bed. Currently, it's said that it's only affecting elective surgery. I'd be highly doubtful that a hospital that has 26 of its current essential beds used for residents that should be in patients that should be residents in aged care, to say that's not affecting the hospital, I would say is not correct. Considering we had a hospital of, what was that, 200 odd beds when we had the Broken Hill base hospital. We now have a hospital of about 80 to 90 beds. So to say that a hospital that's half the size of a hospital that we once had, and then have half those beds or a quarter of those beds being used for residents that for patients that should be residents in aged care facility. I'm very thankful that this committee is here. I'm very thankful that the CE of the hospital has gone to that and explained that. I'm also very thankful that the chairman of Southern Cross Care was also there. A very good committee. The minutes of this have been very helpful. That was spoken about and delivered to the inquiry into health. So really important. And another thing that was Brad Astle did mention there was conducted a survey of current staff in the community. The results at the survey showed that 40 to 70 staff would be able to return to work earlier or work more hours if they could get childcare. So that's another thing that was really important. That exact thing was just recently voiced in a meeting with the federal member, Deborah O'Neill. So she is well aware of that and asked for more information on that so that she can pass that on to whoever's required, just to outline the importance of childcare in the city and that early childcare. So any other comments? All those in favour? Councillor Brown? Yep.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, actually, this is just a bit of indulgence on my part, but when you mentioned the number of beds at the hospital, that reminds me I was on council when there was a serious debate, and Councillor Allgate will probably sort of remember that time fairly well as well. Council had a great fight with the government then because they based the numbers on their erroneous population projections. And we said at the time, you know, to say that I think they were saying then that the population be about 12,000. I could be wrong, incorrect in saying that, but it was way below what it actually is, even though it has declined. And so this was a disaster that could have been prevented, and it was really because of the pig-headedness of the government of the time. And I can't remember if it was a Labor government or a Liberal government, that the hospital was the size that it is, and we've sort of coped with the consequences of that ever since. So, I mean, you can't do anything to prevent something happening in the future, but at the very least we can do is remind them that they, you know, that they should listen to what our ideas about what the population's likely to be, and not rely on some demographic projection of their own.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Yes, I did hear the same thing based on 12,000 people. If you do that, you actually force something to happen. So we're in a position where our hospital isn't of a size that's required for our city. Our city now is starting to grow. Even though it is growing slowly, it is actually growing. So we are not going to go down to their projected amounts. And if Councillor Gallagher would also accept that, Councillor Brown, that we also do prepare some sort of report on the size of the hospital and the difference between our former size and how we ended up with a hospital that's well below the adequate size, with the view to then advocate for change. You happy with that?
Most
Councillor
definitely,
Brown?
that'd be
Happy with that?
okay, yeah. It's just the hospital's coping at the present stage based very, very slimly, but only has to happen in one major incident.
Councillor Boland, you happy to accept that? Councillor Turley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the footprint of the hospital has had to be changed constantly and expanded upon because of the data, the projections that they had wrong. Look, my question really relates to the staffing issues and the nursing issues. Is there a pipeline process or pipeline program for the enrolled nurses to upgrade to registered nurses out at Southern Cross Care? I wondered if that had been addressed.
So there is a pipeline. So the government has implemented, and General Manager, Deputy Mayor and myself was speaking about this recently with, I'm not sure which member of Parliament, but a member of Parliament. So there is a pipeline there, but you're looking at a considerable amount of time before it happens. But there is processes in that hopefully will address some of the long-term, but not the short-term.
And I wonder then if that's in place, if we can get some data about how many have graduated in the last 3 years and how many are in transition, just to get those numbers. I know I've seen quite a few of the nurses graduate, but I'm just curious about how that's going and what the numbers projection, because that growing our own is the most important part of it all. Attracting staff, you could get a few, they don't stay, they're not in a position to stay. As you said, they don't have the family networks, it makes it difficult. We've had some great successes for those that have stayed, but I know that the staff, in particular at Southern Cross Care, have a special caring nature around aged care. And if they've got a pipeline program to transition their enrolled nurses to registered nurses, it'd be good for particularly the committee, but also for council to understand the data around that.
I will definitely investigate it. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 15 is further reports. Item number 1 is availability of Crown land for construction of childcare facilities. Moved. Deputy Mayor Hickey, seconded. Councillor Jewett. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Yeah, look, I've read Drew Carr's reply, which didn't say a lot at all. And it says about that they're going to put it down at the Morgan Street preschool, but that's not really what we're after. That's going to help, of course, but early childhood daycare is what we really need. She has referred it to Minister Camper's office about the Crown Lands to try and get the Crown Lands freed up. Spoke to Roy Butler, our local member, last week, and he immediately rang Camper's office, got a reply back just before I left that Minister Camper would be in touch with him about it, about the Crown Lands, and find out what the current hold up is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look, that's a really important one. Keeping in mind that childcare early on is a federal issue, is it? Yeah, so that's where some of the things are. So with the preschools particularly, so I suppose the Honourable Prue Carr was actually probably talking within her portfolio. But for us, from a state government point of view, we need to have that land freed up so that we can actually do it. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2, membership of the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee. Correspondence from the Honourable Ron Honing. We have a mover for that. Moved Deputy Mayor Hickey, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Once again, Minister Honig told us what we already knew. He didn't change any of the rules or come up with any idea, just that it won't be only have one on the committee, but it'll be a non-voting councillor. It's not really what he said to us before, that he would look after councils, but I did ask at the ARIC meeting how many of us could go and whether they, were happy with us, to the chairman, and he said yes, most happy. Just that you can't vote, that's all. But our input is most important to him because we know our own council.
Yes. What I did like from the correspondence from MP Ron Honig, he did make it quite clear the governing body is still in charge. They're an advisory committee that's meant to be independent, that gives us information. Ultimately, it's up to us whether we implement it or we don't implement it. We pick them. So I was thankful for him to give that correspondence back, saying, letting us know that, and as the mayor, and it being a council committee under the Act, I'm entitled to be, as a mayor, entitled to be at any council as an observer, if not a voting. So I am very thankful that he did take the time to write to us and did look at it and did acknowledge our concerns. Did want to emphasise the point that it was to be independent, so that we'll get an advice that come from an outsider looking in, but did acknowledge that councillors still are in charge and probably know their councils better than anyone else. Do we have any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, the impending closure of Allison House. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Move it.
Seconded. Councillor Jewett. Deputy Mayor Hickey.
Again, bit disappointed in that one because although they've said they've looked in to see what happened to the 6 students that were there, there's no mention of support for finance or to get it up and running, how we're going to get it running again. No mention of any of that. Just, all right, it's shut, it's done. Students have been looked after, that's it.
Yeah.
My opinion, that's not it at all. We need it for future. The bush is growing. There's children, there's numerous families out there now.
Are you happy to move a number 3 outlining that?
Yeah, I am.
That we write back thanking the minister for her correspondence, but ask, is there anything that can be done to offer support to grow the service, because it's still vital.
Reopen and grow the service.
You happy to second that, Councillor Jewett? Sorry, keep on going, Councillor.
And that's because we know that there's, well, at least 80 kids were at the Christmas party last year that were under 13 years of age. From here to Tibooburra. So, all those kids who want, I go down to Pooncarie, I know how many kids are down there that would some come this way and from Ivanhoe and area. And it's most important that this doesn't just get folded up and left, because we do need housing for kids to be able to come to Broken Hill for schooling.
We don't want to lose them out of the city and out of the region. They may never come back. Any other speakers? All those in favour? carried unanimously. Item number 4 is attendance at the 2024 Western Division Council of New South Wales Conference, sorry.
Move that way.
Move councillor Gallagher, seconded councillor Jewett. Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to that, it's just our half-yearly term meeting for the Western Divisions in Cobar. We've got the program before us. It's got a few interesting people there. We've got one of the ministers, Minister Moriarty. She's there to on the first day, so it should be an informative day and a half at Cobar. So it's always a good meeting of the 7 like councils in our area.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering, and I think I haven't got the recommendation in front of me, but is it too late? I would quite like to go to that. I've been to a number of those in the past. Is it too late to add my name to that?
No, you have the mover like to add councillor Brown. to
Most
that?
definitely.
Councillor Jewett, you happy to say?
I'm happy to second that. I'd also move to add councillor Chandler.
What was that?
Also like to move councillor Chandler to that if possible.
Yeah,
If councillor Gallagher,
you happy with that?
Yes, no issues.
All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 5, proposed vesting of Federation Way,
Move that way.
seconded. Councillor Boland, Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, Mayor Kennedy, probably something we don't really want, but we have to take and need it just to secure that road for
Yeah.
council. Thank you.
Councillor Brown, you'd like to speak to that? No. Yeah, look, it's one of those things. It's a liability, but it's a liability that council needs to take on to ensure that we always have access to our miners' memorial and the restaurant. Without that, there's no certainty of that area. So begrudgingly, it's one that council needs to accept. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 6, community assistance grants awarded for round 1. Moved councillor Gallagher,
I'll move that way.
seconded. Councillor Boland, Councillor Gallagher.
Just very quick, Mayor Kennedy. So we had the meeting the other day. We welcomed one of our Australia Day Awards, Mr. Rod Garner, to the meeting, which was good. Our new member. We went through the grants. We dispersed the $42,250,000 to all the people. It's good to see that there was a lot of interest this round. Unfortunately, we only had a couple that missed out on, but that was the reasons why the committee spoke higher and made the recommendation. So it was a good committee decision. And I think everyone who applied will be very happy with the results from the Broken Hill City Council. And it's good to see that the council does assist other community areas in the city.
Thank you and well done. Any other speakers? No. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 7, minutes of the Broken Hill Education Working Group meeting held 29th of April 2024 and 14th of May 2024. We have a mover for that. Moved councillor Brown, seconded councillor Jewett. Councillor Brown.
I have read the minutes, but as you're aware, I couldn't attend the meeting, so it
You were missed and
clear.
you'll be looked forward to the next one, councillor Brown.
clearly got off to a very good start, so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, look, it really was good. We're a little short on community representation, but it will grow as it gets going. Some of the members that would like to be involved from the education deport position are just waiting for approval. So once that happens, but that hasn't stopped us from doing what we need to do. And as a community, I have no doubt that we'll have a community position in the coming months that we will then put to the government. It was nice to know that the minister has recommitted to the fact that there will be 2 schools. We need to ensure that it's 2 schools that are optimal for Broken Hill, and that committee will be instrumental in ensuring that we do get that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 8, local traffic committee meeting held on Tuesday, 10th of May. Councillor Brown moved, seconded. Councillor Boland, councillor Brown.
Well, once again, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but the recommendations are,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much in line with the previous discussions on those issues, some sort of long-standing issues there that we hope are getting closer to being resolved.
If in the, at the next one, potentially, councillor Brown, there's been a few people talking about speeding on the Silverton Road. I know there's not much that the committee can do,
Yeah.
but that, if that just can be.
That is an old one. That is
Yeah.
one of the old ones that keeps coming up. I think it usually comes down to the police doing a few extra patrols there. I think the problem is that it goes fairly quickly from the
Yes,
the 90K to the 50K with not much in between, and then people suddenly come
Yeah.
back into the built-up area. It is an old issue, and
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, what else can be done really, but I'll make sure it's kind of brought
I
up
think
again.
just the fact that you're bringing it up
Yeah.
is, and you know, the police may take notice of that, and so just thank you. Any other speakers? All those in favour, declare it carried. Item number 9, action list, councillor Gallagher,
Yes, I'll move that way.
seconded, councillor Chandler, councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, it's a little bit of green, but far too many, but it's progressing well, so we're looking into it.
We may never miss our former old councillor, mate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. 16 questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. Have a mover for that?
Move
Move
that
councillor
way.
Gallagher, seconded councillor Turley. Councillor Gallagher?
That's before us, Mayor Kennedy.
No? Any debate on that? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 2 is the public questions on notice taken at the April meeting of council. We have a mover for that. Move councillor Allgate, seconded councillor Chandler. Any comments on that? I did note that it was spoken about the paste collection and there was room on the second floor. So there is an opportunity for councillors. There is space. So we'll, that was one of the answers, Mr. Cools, from yours. So the council has identified space, and we will contact Mr. Pace to see what can be done. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 17 is questions for the next meeting. Do we have any questions from councillors? Councillor Turley?
Yeah, I
Councillor
just have a
Gilbert?
couple, Mr. Mayor, and I meant to ask the general manager one of them before the meeting, and it was about I think it would be called a heat pump at the hydrotherapy pool. If that is broken, and will it be fixed? One of the regular customers there has raised that it's a hydrotherapy pool and it doesn't seem to be working. I said that it's probably in hand, but I would check, but I forgot to ask you before the meeting
Yeah, so
started.
the tender's been approved for the new heat
Yep.
pump, which was the 180.
Yeah. And the second one was just about what was said at the beginning of the meeting. Mr. Mayor, I think my spelling of my name's wrong there. So what was said at the beginning of the meeting about any of our meetings are advertised in the form of BDT. I wondered if we should switch, and because while we're waiting to see what happens with the Sunraysia Daily, and advertise our meetings on the 2 radio stations so that there's public notices around that, if that's an opportunity for our community. And the last one, Mr. Mayor, was around the line of load. Have we got an update, or can we be provided an update with what's happening to the site? I think for some of us that visited the site last year, we were a bit concerned about the state of it and that it wasn't going to be functional and that there was more work being done on it. But I'm quite concerned. It's been nearly 8 months and nothing seems to be progressing. It's a jewel in the crown. As someone who was on the line of load committee, it is a jewel in the crown and attracts tourists. People ask me about it all the time, but I don't know if the energy is there or what's missing. But could we just get an update of where that's at?
Deputy Mayor Higgy would like to answer.
Yeah, councillor
Party
Turley,
approval.
I keep a close eye on it, as you well expect, but they put it out for tender for another 3 months and didn't get one response. Nobody looked at it in that 3-month period, which is sad. I think people are scared to go and have a crack at it now because it's failed numerous times. And then they've done all this work, and I think everybody's scared of what the rent might be without even trying, without even going there. I put a suggestion to them that they put it out for maybe free rent for 6 months and then assess the rent from the income of that period. But you'd probably need 12 months to get a business up and running of that nature. So if they did 12 months, and since then there's 3 of the people from Crown Land who were the organisers that have now left that department and gone up the North Coast. So, and they're the ones who had all the grand plans of how should be built and all that. So it's at a standstill again, I'm sorry.
Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, that we formally write to Minister Camper and say about the free rent option. It's something that the community are talking about. The design itself, I think, forgive me, but you know, having a toilet outside for a function like that, looking at the kitchen, anybody who's worked in a kitchen could see it's dysfunctional, the bar space, everything else. So I don't think the team took it well when people were giving feedback that day. So, I mean, if we could write to Minister Camper suggesting that.
I'll move a mayoral minute that we do write to, a verbal mayoral minute that we write to the minister, our local member, explaining exactly what was just said about the free rent, etc.
Happy to second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I think we all acknowledge how important it is. It's something that it's a loss to the city if it's not filled, and we just need to do what we can to progress that. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Any others, councillor Turley? No. Councillor Brown?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I attended a meeting the other night of the Silverton CCC that I've been attending for many years. That's the Wind Farm Consultative Committee, and I was asked by the owner of the mine,
Yeah, Daydream.
Daydream.
Yeah.
I knew it was a dream something. The Daydream mine about the dead trees and the out of Broken Hill. He said he'd spoken to you a few times, and I did undertake to raise it at this meeting. I assume that most of those trees, because there are quite a lot, I took particular notice. I was driving back up outside the city limits, so it may be something I can mention at the traffic committee, you know, so RMS thing. But I mean, there are quite a lot of dead trees along that section. The other matters probably not really the business of this council, but I'll mention it as something that can be added to our advocacy list, and that's the problem of the road that goes into the Daydream mine, which is also shared by the wind farm and the wind farm trucks. And because it's not sealed, obviously any amount of rain causes a lot of damage, and you know it's been a real problem to the Whites for many years, and I think they've reached a high level of frustration about it. So I don't know really what we can do except support any approaches, but the Silverton committee doesn't have too many resources. I suppose they can make their own representations to ministers, but I think it's something to keep in mind, because people who visit the mine would be more than likely to be staying in Broken Hill and contributing to our economy as well. So I think if whatever support we can offer, and to keep it in mind as one of those projects that we want to
happy
support.
to move another mayoral minute, verbal mayoral minute, that we do write to the appropriate minister, our local member, that the Broken Hill City Council does support sealing that road, and the importance of that as a tourism icon, not just for the region, but for Broken Hill as well. So you happy to second that, councillor Brown? Yeah, look, that's an important one. He has sent correspondence to council, he has spoken to me, and he did thank the council for being prompt about making sure that the road was graded as soon as possible after the last rain. So it is really important. It is something that if we can help at all, it is worth us doing it. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. And just the one on the dead trees, I do believe we are in the process of addressing some of it. We won't be able to address it all because just the sheer numbers of the trees, so they'll just be taken out starting off with every third or something. Yeah, if you want to just.
Yeah. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. We have started that process. Councillors would be aware. A lot of the dead trees out on to the racecourse, they've been removed along with the airport road with some new plantings going in. We have started removing some of the dead trees on Silverton Road. Unfortunately, the contractors that we had were no longer able to continue. So we're just back in that process now of sourcing that additional work, but it is going on to council's work schedule as well for us to perform in-house. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Brown, any more? No. Councillor Jewett?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Just a quick one that I wanted to bring up in questions taken on notice. It was only brought to my attention a couple of evenings ago, just from a member of the community who's brought to my attention. So I thought I'd bring it to council's attention to notify the appropriate people, but with the roadworks being taken out on Gypsum Street, I believe, and then of course the said detours, this member of the community driving of an evening in intersections that is not familiar with, told me that on the intersection of Beersmith and Pell Street, a give-way sign has come down. It was just a pole and was not visible. It wasn't an accident, but I think it's serious enough, and I have not had the time to actually verify that myself, but I just thought if it's important enough to maybe have a look so that there isn't an accident.
Yeah, no, that'll be investigated and
that
dealt
is-
with. Any other? Councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, just one quick one there, Kennedy. I do understand that this area, the Land Oval lighting is it's not in this budget, but I've had a few inquiries to me in relation to the lighting, if we could do something to get it sort of working in some order. I do know it has to be new globes. I do know that it has been a problem for a long time, but the situation is, I know it's not in the budget, but if we could make sure it is in the next budget, we'll get something done so they can actually train of a night instead of
Yeah.
adapting to do it during the day. It's all right, daylight savings, but they play rugby league in the winter. So as we know, it's not being smart. It's just
Yeah.
that's
Would have been
happening.
ideal if we could have used some of the lights from the tennis court, but
100%.
just been informed by the general manager, non-compliant. So we can't just put anything up there. It's gonna be virtually when we get enough money to do a complete upgrade out there, as opposed to what we would like to do is just put some of those lights just to increase the brightness out there. But unfortunately, they don't comply and we can't get the electricians, I believe, to install them because they're non-complying. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Ken. I do understand. I spoke to the general manager, but
Yeah.
they just want me to put on the record.
Yeah.
That's all, Mayor Ken.
Yeah.
That was
So if we could just send off correspondence to them explaining that we'd love to have been able to use some of the lights, but because of the compliance issues, we really just have to wait till we get the funding to completely renew.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah. Any other? No. Move on to item number 18 is the second public forum session of 15 minutes. This considers submissions from the public regarding matters that were considered by council at this meeting only. 2 minutes per speaker. Any speakers over there? Can ask you all individual. It's not many here. No. So we move on to confidential matters, 19. There's only a few there. If people do want to stay around, it shouldn't take too long. So call for a motion to move into closed session. Moved Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Gallagher, carried unanimously. The general manager will now read out what was resolved in closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Council resolved in confidential. 1, Broken Hill City Council Report number 64/24 dated May 13, 2024, T2327, request for tender supply of 1 street sweeper. Revision 2, Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 64/24 dated May 13, 2024 be received. 2, that council purchased the plant package tendered by Rosemex Sales and Service Proprietary Limited for the total price of $348,928.80, including GST. 3, that council approved the trade-in sale of council's current street sweeper fleet ID F2332 to Rosemex Sale and Service Proprietary Limited for the amount of $126,500, including GST. Item 2, Broken Hill City Council Report number 65/24 dated May 13, 2024, T23-8, request for quotation, supply of 1 mobile elevated platform. Revision 3. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 65/24 dated May 13, 2024 be received. 2, that council increase the remaining available 2022-23 fleet renewal budget by the amount of $247,952, including GST. 3, the council purchased the plant package tendered by Active Tree Services Proprietary Limited for the total price of $671,828.20, including GST. 4, that council proceed to public auction to dispose of council's current elevated work platform, and if unsuccessful, proceed to sale for scrap. Item 3, tender report number 2/24, request for tender Town Square redevelopment. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council tender report number 2/24 dated May 14, 2024 be received. 2, that Broken Hill City Council award tender T23/46, request for tender Town Square redevelopment to Landscape Construction Services Proprietary Limited, trading as LCS Landscapes as the principal contract on the Town Square redevelopment project for a total price of $1,216,211, excluding GST, for stages 1 and 2 detailed in the report. 3, that the general manager and/or mayor be authorised to sign the tender contract and affix the seal of council if required. 4, that the general manager be authorised to negotiate directly with the successful tenderer LCS Landscapes for stage 1A to be constructed at a later date. Item 4, Broken Hill City Council Report number 84/24, proposed lease of 252 Argent Street. Council resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 84/24 dated May 23, 2024 be received. 2, the council approved for the purpose of public exhibition the granting of a 12-month licence for 252 Argent Street to the Broken Hill Military Museum for the establishment of a museum with a view to obtaining ministerial consent for a longer-term lease. 3, that the proposed licence of 252 Argent Street be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days for public comment. 4, that following the conclusion of the public exhibition period, a report be presented to council detailing submissions received and any recommended amendments. 5, that council meet with the Broken Hill Military Museum Committee for their proposed use and operations of 252 Argent Street. Thank you, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, General Manager. That brings the council